Hey everybody, welcome to the Emerging You channel. Whether you're here looking to get your taxes done, learn how to become a tax preparer, or just here for some tips, you're in the right place. Just as a heads up, everything I post on my page is for educational purposes only. It is not tax or legal advice. Be sure to check out my trainings, my ebook, and join the Tax and Wealth Chatroom for all of the latest tips. I'm placing the links in the description below. Now, let's go ahead and dive in. Today's topic is going to be Trump's policy proposals and how it could affect your taxes. So right now, as you can see on the screen, there's 3 ways Trump could change your taxes. You have extend and expand the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, elimination of taxes on certain income types, and introduction of the External Revenue Service. So let's go ahead and get started.
We've got Andrew Gordon, tax attorney, CPA, and partner at Gordon Law. Andrew, good to have you back on the program. Let's kick off with the first on your list, extending and expanding the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. Tell us about that.
Yeah, thank you very much, Brad. It's great to be here. It's a very interesting time for tax policy now with the inauguration of President Trump. And the first big way that taxes can impact everyone listening today is through the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. Now, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act was originally passed back in 2017 during the first Trump administration. And the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, or the TCJA, cut the tax rates across the board. So regardless of which tax bracket you were in, most likely you had a decrease in taxes after the TCJA was passed. However, it is set to expire in 2025. And so without action, your tax rates would actually increase. However, President Trump has vowed to extend the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, keeping these tax rates at least in the future or hopefully permanent. The other big...
Those who have kids, do you remember when they increased the child tax credit? So many people were happy just because they got to claim a child and they got some extra money. And it made a big difference on their tax returns. Do you guys remember that? It was around just after COVID when everybody was getting those big returns back. And of course, that went away.
Is that the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act impacted those in high tax states even more because it had a limit on federal deductions for state income tax of only $10,000. President Trump has vowed to remove this limit. And so if you are in a high tax state, this could mean a much greater deduction on your federal tax return.
Next on your list under Trump, we could see the elimination of taxes on certain income types. So what exactly would that entail and ultimately mean for those specified income brackets?
Here you go. So elimination of taxes on certain types of income. So you're going to end federal taxes on overpay and tips. I know those who work for tips, their wage is literally little to nothing. And they're basically receiving their money on tips. So I feel like that's kind of unfair because you are still offering a service for a wage. And for that not to be taxed, but we're working a 9-to-5, an office job or a factory job, and you're getting taxed on it. What do you guys think? Do you think it's fair that you don't have to pay taxes on tips? Because some of these waitresses, they be making some money. Just because their wage is $2, $3, they can make up to $30, $40 an hour if they're bussing tables, if they have the service. And for you not to be taxed on that, I find that crazy. And that's not fair to anybody who's working an office job or a factory job or, you know, just a regular labor job. Now, in federal taxes on Social Security, I don't really have an opinion on that one enough. I don't know enough about that. So I'll have to do some more research. And then does not impact state income taxes. What do you guys think on these? Do you think this is fair? How do you think this is going to affect you? Let's continue.
Yeah, so on the campaign trail, President Trump had vowed to actually eliminate taxes for those that received income through tips, Social Security, and overtime. And so if you're in a service industry or a profession that generally receives most of your income through tips, this could mean that that tax is eliminated potentially in full at a federal level. Now, keep in mind, this doesn't impact state taxes. State taxes still apply, so if you're in a high tax state, you still have to consider that. But for those in service businesses and businesses that
So if I move to a state that does not pay state taxes, such as Florida, and work as a waitressing job, those tips should be tax-free, right? That's what he said. Correct? I mean, I know as a service job, your wages, you know, depends on everything, how busy the place is, your service, how you're feeling this day. how you make others feel, your communication. Oh, let's see.
Those that work for businesses that receive overtime, this again will mean a lot more income in your pocket. And another group that will be impacted is those receiving Social Security. President Trump also vowed to eliminate taxes on Social Security. So if these things go forward, it could mean substantial tax breaks.
And then lastly here on your list, Andrew, we're seeing the introduction of the External Revenue Service, which Trump did in fact announce Monday. Tell us what it can mean for taxes from your assessment.
Yeah, tax didn't come up too much during the inauguration, but one topic that did come up is the introduction of the External Revenue Service. Now, we're all familiar with the Internal Revenue Service, which gathers revenue or tax from internal businesses and taxpayers. But the External Revenue Service would collect taxes, duties, and tariffs from foreign sources, and specifically foreign businesses. And so imports will likely have an increase of tariffs of 10 to 20% on all imported goods. What this may mean, however, is an increase in costs for people making purchases, since there's now going to be an increase in tariffs on those deliveries. Or even the person that came on before me was speaking about how businesses may try to absorb those costs. So it's not necessarily a for sure thing that it will lead to an increase of consumer prices.
All right, let's change course here for a hot second. Stay with us, Andrew. We are under a week.
That it will.
All right, so I wanted to highlight this part real quick. So he started talking about the External Revenue Service, ERS. We've heard Trump mention it in the past. He's talked about it, but of course, nothing's in writing yet. Nothing's been in motion to officially form the ERS yet. But the ERS is basically replacing the tax system as we know it to tariffs. And as he mentioned, you got higher tariffs for China, Mexico, and Canada. As individuals, you can eliminate federal income taxes, and tariffs may raise prices and living costs. How do you think it's going to affect us? Do you think the cost of goods are going to cost us more? Those goods that are being imported from these countries may be increased in price because of those tariffs, which generally is going to end up costing us more. So I feel like we're going to end up paying that in the back end. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
Will lead to an increase of consumer prices.
All right, let's change course here for a hot second. Stay with us, Andrew. We are under a week away from the official start of tax season, which means that your time is going to become a lot more scarce here. So we appreciate you taking some time ahead of it. We're also heading out of the holiday time when people may have received bonuses or raises. Talk to us about how tax brackets work.
Yeah, so one of the biggest misconceptions about.
You guys need to pay attention to this. I have so many people ask me about tax brackets. What are you getting taxed on this and that and this and that? You guys need to pay attention to this. Watch this part. If you don't watch anything at all, watch this part.
Taxes is that you have a fixed tax rate or that it applies to your overall income. But in fact, the U.S. is a progressive tax system, which means that there's different segments of income that's taxed at different rates. And so if you received a raise or bonus at the end of the year, your tax bucket may increase. You may be now pushed into a different bracket. And these brackets range from 0% on one end to all the way to 37% on the high end. So depending on your level of income, different brackets, different rates will apply. Now, 2 points to consider is your marginal tax rate, which is your tax rate on the next dollar of income you receive, and also your effective tax rate, which is your overall or average tax rate applied to all of your income.
So how do raises or bonuses affect your tax bracket?
So if you're currently in one tax bracket, that means that certain portions of your income are taxed at different rates, all the way up to a higher amount. But now if you receive a bonus or a raise, your income is now higher and you could be in a higher tax bracket. But what is very important to know is that the tax is only applied on the supplemental portion above the tax bracket. So for example, if you have a $95,000 salary and you receive a $10,000 raise, but the tax bracket is presently $95,375, for instance, you're only going to be taxed at the higher tax bracket, 24%, on the amount that's over $95,375.
So what should you do if you got a raise?
One thing to consider is making additional contributions into a tax deferred account, an IRA or 401k, for instance. If you do this, you might not even have an additional tax from this bonus or raise. Another thing that you could do is actually.
Yes, I love that he actually touched base on this. So yes, your tax system is taxed differently based on the amount that you're bringing in, and that tax rate is a progressional tax rate. So it does change as you are moving into these different tax brackets. The income that you make is also based on the type of income. The tax rate for that income that you make is based on the type of income it is. So capital gains is taxed differently than your ordinary income. Now, what should you do if you received a raise? Most people will go to their W-4 form and claim exempt so that they get majority of their bonus back or the raise, so they have more money in their pocket. But that hurts them in the back end because they're going to end up owing usually. What should you do if you receive a raise? Consider maximizing your tax deferred contributions, your RRA, your 401k. Ask the boss for bonuses to be paid at the next year. That doesn't happen. When you work a 9-to-5 job, you're going to get your bonus whenever you get your bonus. Review your withholding. Might need to increase it. Just like I said, review your W-4. Make sure that you're not claimed exempt. And you may need to take some extra money to withhold from your taxes so that you do not set yourself up to owe at the end of the year. What do you guys do when you have a raise or a bonus coming? Do you make any modifications to your W-4? Do you make sure that you're putting extra money to the side? Do you make sure you're putting money into your retirement accounts? What do you do so that you are set to a good start when tax time comes?
Ask your boss to pay that bonus at the beginning of the next year. By doing so, it will be in the following tax year, and you'll have the entire year to spread or increase your withholdings. So you won't just have a big tax bill at the end of the year, you'll have more time to pay it. Another thing that you can do is review your withholdings.
All right, you guys, so we went over a lot about this. We went over Trump's tariffs. We went over the tax tips and the overtimes, not paying taxes. And then he also gave you some good knowledge on your tax brackets and what you need to do if you have a bonus or a raise coming. What do you guys think about this video? How do you think Trump's policy and tax laws are going to affect you this year? I know he's just now taking over presidency this year, but we have a long 4 years coming. So let's talk about it. What are your opinions about it? Drop them below in the comments section. Thank you for hanging out. Remember, this isn't legal or tax advice. It's all about just giving you the tools of understanding the tax system better. If you found this helpful, be sure to like, subscribe, and check out my website for all of my ebooks, my trainings, and join the Tax and Wealth group. You gotta join the Tax and Wealth chat room for all of the tips that I'm dropping there. Until then, I'll catch you next time.